Hey everyone, welcome back to AWS Connections. My name is Nick Raboy, and I'm a developer evangelist at Here Technologies. And on my right, we have
Mr. Michael Palermo, also an evangelist with the developer relations team. I'm really excited about our episode today, Nick.
Yeah. So just for people who are new to the show, what is AWS Connections? So this is a show where we talk about different integrations that Amazon offers with our own Here Technology products. So what exactly is the topic of this one without getting too deep into it, Michael?
We are going to be discussing, having a conversation, chatting about Alexa. And we're going to be specifically going into how we're going to integrate location services and terms when you are doing Alexa development.
Awesome. So Michael did mention Alexa several times already. So this would be a good opportunity to mute your Alexa device if you have one and you're not using a headset.
Yes.
Otherwise, it might go a little chaotic for this episode.
Yeah. You want the red ring to show for sure.
Yeah. Just for some kind of bookkeeping purposes, we are live. I do encourage you to use the chat. We will interact with it throughout the episode. We do have a few moderators on the line as well. Peter is going to be joining us. So Peter Malahan, he's going to be in the background. He might make an appearance now and then, but he'll be running the show in the background. As far as other updates, we are now a Twitch affiliate. So that means that you're allowed to subscribe and donate with bits, and any bits that we receive will be donated to appropriate charities. So you want to take us right into the episode on Alexa, Michael?
What the things on your mind?
I know, right?
I'm telling you. So, yes, we had an episode once, if you recall, on integrating location stuff with Lex, which was that conversational chat bot. But what we're going to be focusing mostly on today is how to have such a conversation or integrating that with the voice aspect of it, voice design, not just, the text aspect of things. So, yeah, let's go ahead and get started. In fact, just to set the stage, let's go ahead and take a look at our interactive map. This is something that, when we're using our APIs, you probably recognize this on the screen, Nick. This is a map that developers can quickly add to, let's say, their websites using our JavaScript SDK. So this is a web page, and right now, because my monitor is a touchscreen monitor, I'm just kind of, moving, panning in, zooming into this interactive map, made with our JavaScript API. And I believe you've had an episode about using these kind of APIs. So I'm just curious, what you see on the screen right now, Nick, how many lines of code would you guess it would take, lines of code, take that with a grain of salt, whatever that means. But, essentially, how much work does it take just to get an interactive map like this on the screen?
Probably less than 10 lines of code.
Exactly. So very simple what we're doing here. And of course, as a reminder for all, especially if you're brand new to our episodes, you'll notice that we have this passion that we are your location for all your location needs. So location for developers is somewhat of a tagline. And if you wanted to get started for free, I'm sure there's going to be a link that's going to be placed also in the chat area, but developer.here.com, sign up for free, and you could start using these APIs, which of course is a requirement in order to integrate our location services within the Alexa environment. So again, just to showcase it, I'm, just using, you can't see that I'm touching my screen, but I can go ahead and move around on this touch screen. I could use my mouse as well, but you get the point, right?
I got it. Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. So with all that said and done, I do want to discuss something that happened. Now, a couple years ago, I was privileged to be able to speak at AWS reInvent when they launched their AWS serverless application repository. And Nick, I know you have been to AWS reInvent, have you not?
Yes, I was lucky enough to attend once.
I mean, it's one of those kind of events where you might bump into people Would you say that there's maybe like a good maybe 20, 30 people that might attend these kind of events? What do you recall?
Definitely much more intense than that. That's probably the biggest developer conference I've ever been to.
It's just huge. I mean, and so the reason why I have this here is that, so what's this have to do with Alexa? And I'll explain. It brings me back to a moment where I recall just for me to find this room to speak in was a challenge. I mean, you've been there before. It's typically held in Las Vegas. It's not even held in the same place. I mean, it's scattered all over.
Yeah.
So, to such an extent, is it hard to find things that when you're walking around, do you recall seeing those people walking around with these banners like "Ask Me"?
Absolutely. And even that was even difficult to decipher in the end, right?
Exactly. But what do you think was the number one question these people would get?
Where is this session room, or where is this hotel, right?
Yeah, it's like where? That was so relevant. And that's why I brought this up, to bring up the relevance of where, because as we're moving around, we need to understand, it's just our nature. We need to know where we're going. Sometimes I've literally heard people even there say, "Where am I?" they may not even know where they're at. So, I mean, it's kind of a combination of things. Okay. So with that stated, I now want to talk about something that gets a little closer to home, and that has to deal with this blog post that came out by the Alexa team. It came out last December, and it was this big announcement that now you can enhance the customer's experience with Alexa by enabling or allowing these real-time location services. And if you look at that picture, you see that guy in the bicycle. Do you see anything also interesting about the guy in the bicycle? I mean, this is not rehearsed, by the way. I'm saying anything maybe above his head that might be interesting.
Just the marker.
Yeah, but it kind of like an Alexa designed marker right above his head.
Is it? I have no idea.
Yeah, if you were to zoom in, you'd see it's kind of that brand. But here's the point. The experience is this. Hey, imagine that you're walking about, or you're about to get on your bicycle, and now you need to know something. This is a big deal because Nick, you have Alexa devices in your home, I'm assuming.
I have too many of them, but yes.
Okay, so what kinds do you have?
I have like every generation and every model that's come out. So yeah, I absolutely. I've gone all in.
Okay, so typically speaking, Alexa developers, when they're developing, and I'm just going to kind of show this one kind of a little bit up here. You could see it in the little profile picture.
Yep.
This is I don't know if this was Gen 1 or Gen 2 of the Echo Dot.
Yep.
But what's interesting about these devices is that at most, what you could attempt to do is that if the customer, as part of their Alexa profile, registered their address with the device, then an Alexa developer, if they had permissions, could request what that address is. Are you following me?
Yes, I am.
But if I took this Echo Dot with me to, let's say, Seattle, and I connected it to the Wi-Fi of my hotel or a work office or something, what do you suppose would be my location when I did that?
My assumption would be one of two things. It's either your location that you have saved in the app, or it's picked up the location of your IP of the Wi-Fi. I don't know.
So that's a fair answer. Your first assumption was correct. It's not going to do anything other than, well, we can see if they have an address on file for the profile. And so if I live in Phoenix, which I do, but I travel to Seattle, then clearly it's not going to be correct if I say anything at all about my location.
Sure.
But this blog post, again in December, said, whoa, now we're going to enable these real-time location services. But I want to highlight something. The device that I just showed you, I'll put it up here again just for, crystal clear.
Sure.
This little Echo Dot, it does not get to play in this particular scenario. This applies right now to just the Alexa app, which someone could have installed on their phone and they could use the voice features there, or something called Echo Auto.
And what's that? That's a new one to me. I don't actually have that one.
Glad you asked. So again, now we're going back to March of this year. The Alexa team releases that Alexa skill developers can now optimize their experiences for Alexa auto vehicles and devices. Now, what this means is that in the previous thing we talked about, it was just either the Alexa app or Alexa Auto, and now or this Echo Auto. This is an actual device that you can put in your vehicle. It's a little slim device you can put right on your dashboard and bring that Alexa experience to your vehicle. In some cases, it also might already be integrated into the vehicle depending on the device or the manufacturer of the vehicle. So when we say Echo Auto, it's either the device itself that you can purchase separately, or it's already integrated into the vehicle. You with me?
I am, and we received a question. I'm asking for more information in the chat, but the question is, so basically the device needs GPS. I assume that's referring to the Alexa Auto. Can it integrate with the GPS of the car if it exists?
So I'm glad you're asking that. First of all, the Echo Auto itself, to even get this device,
Sure.
you have to request to be invited to receive it.
Sure.
If you go look, you go look it up on Amazon's website and try to buy one, and it'll say, it's basically a waiting list, or we'll let you know when you can have one.
Sure.
For what it's worth, I don't have one yet. I have
Sure.
made that request. I happen to have some good friends on the Alexa team that work for, Amazon.
Sure.
They're still on the waiting list too. So, it hasn't rolled out to just everybody yet.
Sure.
But to answer your question, I do know at this time from some conversations that basically that's going to be a tethering experience. So it's not going to be something where it itself is the GPS. It's going to probably connect to something you already have with you, such as your phone,
Sure.
or something to that effect, in order to make that possible.
Yeah.
Okay. So what does this mean in terms of the possibilities for developers? This is the scenario. You don't want to do anything other than drive and just, start talking. For example, how do I get home?
Yeah.
Right. So that's just an example. There's other scenarios as well where you can start using your proximity to things wherever you're at. Like, are you going somewhere? Let's find the closest dog park. But there's tremendous potential here because a big request that Amazon received from their customers of Alexa is if they're on the go, they want to have that capability to have that proximity there. So it sounds like there's a lot of people barking for that feature,
Sure. Let's go with that.
It may have just been a huge request for the demo that I would like to do.
All right.
I think I got confirmation of that as well.
Yes.
So here's the thing. Like I said, you recall what's on one side of the screen is our map. This is just our standard interactive map. While I was at CES, I challenged myself to build this demo that uses the Amazon serverless application repository. It uses the Amazon or the AWS IoT, and it also, of course, is built on Alexa. And the premise of this is yeah, it's great to have something interactive on the screen that I can use my mouse, I can do all that. But what if I want to interact with this map and I want to do so just purely through Alexa? So that was the goal, to use Alexa. So with that said, can I formally do my demo with you right now?
Yeah, please. So if I just realized you have a headset on. I was gonna mess with you here.
Yeah, the headset's going to prevent all that.
Yep.
So here we go. Alexa, open Here Maps.
Control the map with your voice.
Go to New York.
Okay, going to New York.
Go to Phoenix, Arizona.
Okay, going to Phoenix, Arizona.
Show us Seattle.
Okay, going to Seattle.
Go to Chicago. Do you have any requests,
Going
Nick?
to Chicago.
I'm always a fan of Hawaii.
Go to Hawaii. Oh, I must have turned it off on accident. Alexa, open here maps.
Control the map with your voice.
Go to Hawaii.
Okay, going to Hawaii.
Perfect.
Zoom in.
Okay, zooming in.
Zoom closer.
Okay, zooming closer.
Stop.
Goodbye.
Goodbye. So you get the idea. I'm just interacting. So part of today's episode is to talk about what it took to make this possible as an Alexa developer. What could you do to bring in those location terms? Now, what you'll notice is that this demo is kind of interesting. I'm kind of switching gears. This demo does not care about where I am personally, right? It's not using my device. It's not using location. So I'm using that to kind of be a primer for some content we're going to talk about in a little
Sure.
bit. But this demo right here is actually, it's agnostic of where I'm at. I could be anywhere and run this demo because it's not based on me. It's just based on the location terms that I'm using. So I am now going to use my hands to just bring the screen back, maybe just get a wider view of the United. There we go, like something like that. That's good. We'll come back to that in a little bit. But now I want to talk about some of the design aspects of what it would take to build this. So this is an actual screen capture, a little screen capture I have of the intents and the slot types that were used in order to build this Alexa skill. So because it's possible that not a lot of people are maybe aware of those terms, would you like me to kind of talk through it a little bit?
Yes, I would. Absolutely.
Okay. So an intent, I always like to think of an intent as like if you're a developer, think about you're making a method call, right? How do you name your methods? Like if you're going to do a method that's going to display something on a map, what might you call that method? You personally,
Show
what would you-
map.
maybe show map, right?
Yeah.
So in my example, when I'm creating an intent, I want this to ultimately wire up to the desired behavior. What is the intent of the person who is interacting with the skill? Well, in my case, I said their intent is to show a place, right? So show place is the name of my intent.
Sure.
And what does that mean? It means that I'm now going to break up this utterance that they would speak and say, I wonder what are all the different ways that they could ask to show something on a map? Maybe they would say, display on the map, blah, 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 or show it, or go to this one. Do you see what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
there's a lot of different options. So what you see here in the design is I have the word show as one of our built-in slot or a slot, and I also have place. And so show place would mean, first part is, what is kind of the verb of what I want to do? Go to, display, show on map, all
Sure.
that stuff. And place just represents the actual designated place we want to go to. Are you following me there?
I am. Absolutely.
So, but then it could get to the next level where it's like, well, what if they say, there is a difference. In fact, I would like to demonstrate this for you right now. I'm just going to zoom in a little bit like this, and maybe right in the center of the map. I'm going to turn this demo back on and just show you an example of why it does make a difference to also possibly include a region, which you'll also see region is there. So here we go. Alexa, open here maps.
Control the map with your voice.
Go to Hollywood.
Okay, going to Hollywood.
Go to Hollywood, California.
Okay, going to Hollywood.
I didn't even realize there was a Hollywood in Florida.
Not only that, Nick. Not only that, but some might say no. So, so some might wonder, why did the Here Maps API take me to Florida as its first pick because, as you may be aware, when I'm using our APIs, a lot of times if I make a request, I could get an array as a response, right? And I'm just taking the very first element that comes back because it's possible. Have you ever heard of a city name that there's multiple version or
Absolutely.
multiples? Of course, right? So
Yeah.
there could be duplicate place names. So
Let me stump you here.
Okay.
If there's duplicate place names, why
Mhm.
did it choose Florida over California? Wouldn't it be alphabetical?
Oh, you're not going to stump me.
No?
No, because I'm going to tell you exactly why our APIs are so good. Are you
Sure.
ready for this?
I'm ready. Let's do it.
I'll stump you. Do you actually believe Hollywood is a city?
Uh, no. Wait. I honestly don't know, and I'm in
Ah,
California.
So when I first did this video or this
Yeah.
demo, and I first asked for that, and it took me to Florida, I had to go investigate our APIs. Like, why would it give me such an irrelevant, in my opinion, response? And
Sure.
what I discovered was, oh no, the the one in Florida is actually a city, so it ranks higher because it's a real city.
Sure. And not a district or something?
It's not a district. Very good. You guessed
Or is
it.
it like Santa Clarita or something over there? Or?
I mean, I don't know. It's just
All
like
right.
I don't know what the real city is, but I know the
Sure.
district is just called Hollywood.
Got it.
However, here's where APIs are really good. Because I included a region, now it filtered out the one from Florida because we included California. We
Yeah.
gave it context, right?
Yeah.
So that's why when you look at the right side of the screen and see show place region, it's also indicating, yes, we might want to understand what those things are, with more greater detail. I could
Sure.
just say Phoenix, or I could say Phoenix, Arizona. So I want to be able to capture both, and that could help narrow things down. All right. So did you happen to notice on this screen that the the place, which is the slot, is of type down below where it says intent slots? Down below it, do you see what the slot type is for place?
Yeah, it's Amazon.us_city.
Okay. So any questions for me on that?
Maybe could it be changed to something outside of the US?
So you'll notice that so far in this demonstration, all we've been doing is using what
Um, cities and
in the US?
yeah,
So I'm going to challenge things right now.
Yeah.
Are you ready?
let's go for it.
Okay. So remember, what is the place type again?
The place type is a US city.
Okay, you said it. So let's go. Alexa, open here maps.
Control the map with your voice.
Go to Berlin, Germany.
Okay, going to Berlin, Germany.
Zoom out.
Okay, zooming out.
Go to Paris, France.
What should I display?
Go to Paris, France.
Okay, going to Paris, France.
Go to Palermo, Sicily.
Okay, going to Palermo, Sicily.
Zoom in.
Okay, zoom in.
So I actually have two questions now.
Yes.
So one question that I want to address before the international stuff
Yeah.
is a question from the chat.
Please.
Can you have it go to a specific address, not just a city? Like, can you say maybe First Street, San Francisco, or something, or make
I think-
something up?
So I love that question, Nick, because the reality is, could I actually do that? Like, is it built to do that right now? And the answer is no, but I could have, because
Right.
the only thing that I'm doing right now is I'm just doing a geocode API call based on the actual city names, right? But if I wanted to, I could, as you know, create a more powerful search with our API so that it would work with things that are outside of just city names. And keep in mind that also down below, because the place type is bound to this US city, it really does want us to provide a city. So I would have to also redesign my Alexa skill to allow a more open slot type to allow for those multiple things that you're talking about.
Sure. And I mean, in the slot type list, is there like address rather than city and something specific?
So there are some things like that. You are correct. In the example you're talking about, we might it could vary as to to what extent how open you want that to be. So
Sure.
it would just depend. And there's a way that you can also set up a dialogue so that you can even break it down if you want to do an address where you request this dialogue to happen where Alexa might say, well, give me the number first of the street. And now
Sure.
what's the street? So it depends on how the developer wants to build that experience. But those
Sure.
options are out there.
Got
Okay.
it. And my second question, this was my question.
Yes.
So it worked for international just now.
Yeah.
Is this because these international cities that you listed off had like English characters in them, or I mean, if you put
So
something in the Soviet like Chet's Republic or something with other characters encodings, is that
that has nothing to do with it.
nothing to do with it? All right.
No. So let's talk about this for real. Okay. So what are the other options that Amazon has for if it has US city, what else does it have? One of the other options it has is European city.
Got it.
Another option it has is German city. Now
Got it.
I want you to think about this for a moment. It's not saying let's restrict your options to a geolocation. What
Got
it's
it.
really saying is if you are from the United States and speak like someone from the United States, this is for you. Because, for example, I'm gonna prove a point here.
Sure.
Alexa, open here maps.
Control the map with your voice.
Go to Rome, Italy.
Okay, going to Rome, Italy.
Stop. Now,
Why?
I don't know about you, but I've been to Rome before. And if I'm from the United States, I call it Rome.
Sure.
But when I was in Italy, they called it Roma.
Got it.
That's a very different sound than Rome,
Yeah.
right? So if I'm in the US and I'm saying Rome, it understands that city. So it's
Got
not
it.
saying US cities. It's saying if you're from the US, tell me any city in the world, because if I say in Italy what our names are in the US, they may have a different pronunciation for the common places we have here.
Sure. Yeah. So chat boot from the Twitch chat. Yeah, I think I'm saying it correctly. Is challenging you to try to pronounce a Turkish city, and says that you will likely fail, but wants to hear it anyways.
Oh, well, I don't see the spelling of it, so how could I?
Do we? Yeah. I guess
You're
good
saying
point.
any Turkish city?
Yeah. And I wouldn't even
I mean,
know
if
where to start.
Peter can put it into our little communicator thing, oh, Peter behind the scenes producer guy, that I will give it a try in the DevRel thing we have. But if he can't,
Yeah. So yeah, I wouldn't even know how to say it, but yeah, if Peter can take that chat string and paste it in, then I'll have
okay,
you.
he did it. He did it. So I don't know. So I would assume it's like Sirnak. So he'll have to tell me if I completely butchered it or not.
The S symbol, the symbol that looks like an S
Yeah.
is pronounced SH kind of.
Oh,
So,
like
yeah.
Shutterknack. Okay. It would be interesting to see what would happen if we tried to. I'm going to try it. This is a live demo based on a
request from the chat.
Yeah. Yeah. Alexa, open here maps.
Control the map with your voice.
Go to Shirnak, Turkey.
Okay, going to share, not Turkey.
All right. Well, we tried.
It went to Nashville.
Thanks, chat boot.
Oh man, I wish that would have worked. Anyway, I'll turn it
Yeah.
out.
Just for time check, we are at the 30-minute mark.
Okay, cool. Cool. So anyway, with regard to these designs, that's one of the reasons why I highlighted the US city, is because that's a common misunderstanding from new Alexa developers, that US city doesn't mean just a list of US cities. But you can see why they might come to that conclusion. But it's just how we in the US would say any city in the world, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. All right. Moving on.
Yeah, definitely.
Let's talk about zoom values. So you'll probably recognize that there were several times that I said zoom in or whatever the case is. So this is just a nice little tip trick for Alexa developers in general.
Sure.
When I created my zoom type, the value is in or out. but I'm just going to zoom in on the screen. Hopefully you could see this. I think that looks good.
Yeah,
So
it
you
looks
see,
fine.
it says in and out is the value, but then you'll notice on the right-hand side of the screen, what are some of the synonyms for the word in? If you look at the far right.
Down, closer, and near.
Right. So say zoom with each one of those, right?
Zoom down, zoom closer, zoom near.
Yeah. So wouldn't they all mean the same thing? We're trying to zoom in.
Sure.
Right. So the same thing with the out, zoom away, zoom up, zoom farther. It's all the same. So those synonyms are spoken. Now, here was the challenge that I gave myself. And I'll prove it to you on the map in just a moment. If I were to say zoom in, then I wanted Alexa to actually echo what I said and say, okay, zooming in. But if I were to say zoom closer, I would want Alexa to say, okay, zooming closer. But imagine if we had all these synonyms and I'm a developer getting that value. And now what would I have to do in my code if I were to receive the words down, closer, near? What would you think?
Inside of your code?
Yeah, to determine what to do with my zoom.
You'd probably have some kind of switch statement that looks up for each one of those synonyms.
Exactly. Yes. Now, what if I wanted to add more synonyms here in the Alexa design area? What would I now have to do?
I mean, you'd have to update it in the developer portal here as well as your code, right?
Yeah. Doesn't that feel wrong to you, Nick?
It absolutely feels wrong.
It feels wrong,
Yep.
right? So this is the cool thing. I have to say, I don't know if a lot of Alexa developers know this, but when you use the optional ID, which I also have highlighted here,
Sure.
this is more of a constant, right? So what you can do is you could say, regardless of what value comes in. So the default value is in, but they could say a number of things. But regardless of what they say, I also want to be able to obtain the ID. So in this case, instead of having to do a switch statement, what am I really just checking for?
Plus or minus.
Yes.
Yep.
So just to prove that point, I'm just going to, again, zoom in on some code here. Let's talk about it. So on line 108, when starting here, this is inside our Alexa, and it's actually in this Alexa skill, the demo that we're doing right now.
Can you just zoom out just slightly? We're getting some of it cut off in Twitch.
Zoom out?
Yeah.
Or
make it
in?
small. Make it a little smaller.
Oh, smaller.
Just a little bit.
Is that good?
Yeah. All right. It looks better now. It took a second to update. We're a little delayed.
Oh, okay.
We're good.
It's good? Okay.
Yep, we're good.
So once in our Alexa skill, once we get to this line 108, we're actually just saying, so was a zoom value provided in this whole experience, right? But
Yeah.
did they ask for that? If they did, notice line 109 says, okay, give me the value. But line 110 says, okay, now give me the ID. And then line 113 says, that's where I was saying, I want to direct Alexa to say, okay, zooming whatever the value was that the user said, but notice I'm posting to MQTT, which is the real-time communications between Alexa and my website, the Zoom ID, so it knows. And what were the two values of Zoom ID that you recall?
I think they're plus and minus, but I could
You're
be
right.
wrong.
No, you're right. So how easy that is. I can go and design my Alexa skill to have so many more synonyms and never have to worry about the programming mess of updating it everywhere. You see what I'm saying?
I see, yeah.
So that's where that is. So just to prove a point on this again, I will go ahead and do that example where maybe I'll start somewhere kind of fun. I'm just moving with my hand over there. And now, why don't you give me a city that we can go to?
Where we're already focused or anywhere?
Yeah, anywhere. Just give me an example of a city.
Let's go back to Orlando, Florida.
Alexa, open here maps.
Control the map with your voice.
Go to Orlando, Florida.
Okay, going to Orlando, Florida.
Zoom in.
Okay, zooming in.
Zoom closer.
Okay, zooming closer.
Zoom nearer.
Okay, zooming near.
Stop. So do you see the example? It let me to use the actual values, but at the same time, every time I was actually going in, using just one value to MQTT. So
Sure.
Any thoughts or questions on that?
I do not have any as of right now.
Okay, moving on. Let's go back to the original thing that we were talking about, and that was these location services. I'm just readjusting like a nice
Yep.
little big size map, but how these location services work. So you'll notice whether it's an app or some future device that will support location services, the thing that's important here, and by the way, I do mean by future, meaning that right now it's just the Alexa app or the Echo Auto. But as you could see, it could be like a watch or some kind of device that you would have with you at some point in the future, right?
I have a question in the chat coming
Please.
in from Chatboot again.
Yes.
Is there an Alexa OS? There's a question behind that.
There is not an Alexa OS, no.
Got it. All right.
No. Basically, there's a development framework that
Sure.
you can use to, but it's not like an operating system.
Got it.
But what's interesting is that on those devices right there, the devices have something important. In this case, the assumption is those devices do actually have GPS, right? They somehow are getting GPS. That is communicated to the Alexa cloud, which it can now be made available in your skill. So, any questions there before I go on to the next thought?
Yeah. Why are you advertising an Alexa Cloud OS?
I have no idea.
I'm just giving you a hard time here.
Yeah, they're saying, is there an OS? Got it. This is actually where you're going to be building your logic inside of the Alexa cloud.
Sure.
So then, if you wanted this to happen, you would have to go into your location services or into your Alexa skill in the build area in permissions and turn it on. So that is a fundamental requirement. You cannot do any kind of location services unless you are actually saying that you will need to have permissions to that.
Sure.
Any other things you want to stump me on?
No, not yet.
Okay.
It'll come.
However, notice the top. Do you see where it says device address?
I do.
That's what we were talking about earlier on the episode. And that is the device can have a static address that's associated with it. But if you want to have real-time location services, you're going to have to do it like this, where you're requesting those location services.
All right.
All right. Let's get a little nerdy now. I'm just going to zoom in to about right. I think we could do it to here. I think that'll work. So what we're looking at right here is an example of a communication that will be provided to the Alexa developer in this JSON object. It's called geolocation.
Sure.
And it provides several pieces of data, such as information if it's enabled and running, as you can see. It's also providing a timestamp. And it's also providing a coordinate. So at this point, the things that you see that I just talked about that are kind of in the bluish color and the values, those are what we would call required. Those are required. Like that must exist. Things like altitude, heading, and other things that are chopped off the screen, those are optional things that if the device supports it, it'll provide it, but they must provide the ones that we have like in blue. Any questions there?
No.
Okay. What do you think that timestamp represents?
If I had to guess, the time that you made the request.
Great guess, but wrong.
All right.
But great guess. I love that you said that, because as we go to our next screen to talk about the code, let's remember that you did say time of request, right? And what we're going to compare that timestamp to.
Am I going to get publicly shamed now or something?
No. This is going to be fun. All right, let me just zoom down just a little bit. I think this is probably, let's see if I get it to right there. Okay, good. Let's just talk about this a little bit.
Sure.
What we're looking at is an example of what an Alexa developer could do to formally start the process to say they want to use geolocation services. Okay.
Sure.
So the very top line where it says, is geolocation supported is really just going to the context object available to Alexa developers. We're asking if the system device, and that's the thing that was used to communicate with the user.
Let me stop you for just a second. Sorry. Can you slide it down just a little bit? It's being chopped off. So
I can't.
It doesn't. All right.
I can't. Sorry.
All right.
But I think the relevant stuff is on the screen right now.
It is. Yeah, it looks like it. It's just that one line 2 is kind of cut off.
Yeah. I mean, all that line is really asking is again, I can maybe just sort of show it real quick.
That's fine. I think we'll live.
Is geolocation even something supported, right?
Sure.
So we're asking on line 4 now if it is. Whoops. Sorry. Let me go back. If it is supported, now the next thing we're doing on line 5 is we're saying, okay, then give me the geolocation object. That geolocation object is the same object you and I just looked at on the previous screen, that JSON object.
Yeah.
I'm putting your memory on the spot, but do you even remember one node of that JSON?
I don't even remember what you said 3 sentences ago.
Oh, no.
I honestly don't know.
Okay. Well, I could show you. Right there, this is the object we're talking about. So when I'm asking for geolocation object, I'm asking for this object that we see on the screen.
Yeah.
Going back, if we don't have... Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, so I'm getting a question from Chatboot again. He's asking why he or she, I don't really know. They're asking if you can just do context.geolocation to see if it's supported instead of drawing out context.system. All that big long line.
So you could. I mean, essentially, you're saying if on line 2, what we're asking is if the device even has the capability of doing geolocation, right? So I don't know why. Why is that funny?
No, it's just chat. Just looking at the chat. Okay.
So we're just asking to see if it's even possible, but it is. I don't know. Maybe you'll have to fill me in on the chat.
No, it's just saying Chatboot's saying I defy taxonomy.
Okay. So you wouldn't have to do that. You could probably do just starting with line 5 to even see if a geolocation object exists. That would be possible too. But the first one, this is the whole point. The first one's showing you what your options are. So clearly, if someone doesn't want to do that option, that's fine. But if the device doesn't even support it at all, you can then bypass a lot of if statements, right?
Yeah.
Because even after I asked for the geolocation object, line 6 is saying, well, if I didn't get it, or I did get it, but it didn't have a coordinate object, because that's possible. Now we're going to start to say, maybe this is because the user never granted permissions for me to use their location.
Sure.
So that's what basically all the lines of code do, going down to line, let's say 16. So I'm just going to slowly zoom up a little bit.
All right.
Slow. I want to get it to about right there. Okay.
Looks good.
So what we're now saying on line 18. So if we've gotten through all the permission stuff, in other words, we have a geo object, we have all this stuff. Now I'm saying, let's make sure that what we're doing is we're implementing some business rules that say, I have business rules to say whether or not I think this location stuff is going to be accurate. For example, line 20, I'm saying new date request timestamp. Now, if you just look at that right there, not the rest of the line, Nick, just new date request timestamp, what does that mean to you? We're requesting a date from what?
That's a good question. I don't know.
Well, the request object that's available to you has its own timestamp. Now, remember you were saying you thought on the previous screen the timestamp was the request?
Yep.
So it wasn't, but this one is. On line 20, the first part is you made the request. Here's that timestamp. Now we're going to subtract from that the actual timestamp that was available from the geolocation object. And we're going to put it into seconds. Why would the geo timestamp be different? Do you have any guesses?
No.
Do you think that sometimes a device will just, every time you ask what its location is, it immediately knows? Or do you think some devices might have a delay in between the times that it updates its location?
I think in most circumstances, there's a delay to preserve battery or et cetera, right?
Yes. So what that geo.timestamp means is the device is letting you know how long ago it obtained its location data. And now I'm saying, okay, let me know in seconds how long ago that was. And now I'm going on and saying, not only that, but you're aware of the fact that when you get a location, there's usually a threshold, like an accuracy in meters. And so we've created this variable that says, this is a self-imposed business rule, 100 meters. If it's outside of that, I can't use this location for what I'm doing.
Sure.
So it has to be fresh, under 60 seconds, and it has to be under 100 meters for accuracy. If it meets my own criteria, you'll notice on line 30, I say start coding.
All right.
Now, what do you believe I would start doing on line 30 when I say start coding? Now that I have a Latin long.
My guess would be to maybe reverse geocode it, or I don't know, do anything with that. You can recenter the map.
Your answer is correct. Do anything. Here are the anythings that you can do. See, the thing is that why would you have a map image API in an Alexa skill? Does that seem like unheard of? This is a voice interaction. Why would I possibly even want to use that? Any guesses?
To have an interactive map in an Alexa skill?
Or to have a map image in an Alexa skill?
Maybe you want to send your location to somebody by only using your voice, and that would maybe send them a map image with a marker on it on where you are. I don't know.
Well, here's the answer. I thought you would know since you said you have every single Alexa device on the planet. If you do, you also have one called an Echo Show.
I do.
And that has a visual presentation. And
Yes.
sometimes you can create an Alexa skill that also allows you to send a visual something as you're interacting with it voice-wise.
Sure.
So that would be a reason why you'd want to use the map image.
So
API.
we have an incoming question from
Yes.
ChatBoot.
Yes.
So the question is around, why are some of these services highlighted in yellow?
Because I did it. And I'm saying, from my perspective, you would not use the map tile API in an Alexa skill because there's no relevance for it there.
Sure.
You can only use an image.
Got it.
Likewise, it doesn't make sense to use the venue maps API within this particular scenario at this time anyway.
Got it.
You wouldn't use geocoder autocomplete because you're not typing, you're talking.
Yep.
See what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
So that's why those are highlighted. All the ones highlighted, I'm saying, are more relevant to probably use in an Alexa skill based on what you're doing.
Yeah.
So why would you need to, if I'm already got the Latin long, and you already gave this answer, by the way, if I already have the Latin long, why would I use the geocoder API?
I mean, reverse geocoding.
Exactly. So now what you're doing is you're saying, well, I know I have this numbering system where I'm out on the map, but the user might want to say, so what's the closest address to me? And so now that's what you would do, right?
Sure.
So anyway, that's exactly why those are there. It's basically to say, when it says start coding, this is your opportunity to actually go in and call whatever API would fit your business needs.
Yep.
And with that really concludes the entire episodes of content. There's nothing else to show on the screen. It's just,
all right.
We've got all the content down. I think now would be a good time to maybe pause and see if there are any other questions that others might have on this.
Nothing coming into the chat right now. I think we're good.
Okay.
Maybe we'll do our we're getting questions on live coding changes, but I don't know if we're set up for that right now, and we are a little short on time. Maybe we'll do some outro stuff, and if any questions pop up, we'll go ahead and address them. How's that sound, Michael?
Sounds good.
Yeah. So this episode, it was live, but it will appear on Twitch probably immediately. It'll also appear on YouTube probably within a week. You could also, if you did like what you see here and you want to ask us more questions, we're on Slack. We could use Peter is using Nightbot over here to share some links. So definitely join our Slack channel, communicate with us, interact with us on Twitter. We're at HereDev. We don't have another AWS Connections show in the pipeline as of yet, but we do have an episode next week on our Explore XYZ show. So this is a different show. that demonstrates using our XYZ product. It's on June 5th. It's a Wednesday, and it's at 11 a.m. Pacific Daylight Time. Do you have any shameless plugs that you want to give, Michael?
Just a few possible relevant URLs. Hopefully that can get shared. One of them is there is a blog post that was provided called Adding Alexa. And if that could be, whoops, I forgot to turn my device off here. That blog post goes into how to build the demo that I just showed. So there's,
Sure.
that. There's another one that is to our new tutorial for how to use Alexa skills. And so that's different than the blog post. That's a full-blown tutorial. I believe it's intermediate skill level. And that's also a way for us to say, hey, we have a new tutorial section on our website. Come check it out.
Got it.
And then the other thing is that if you're going to happen to be in New York, I believe it's the week of the 17th, if I recall correctly. I'm just going to take a look there. Yes, the week of the 20 or the let's say I'm in May. Sorry, just want to make sure I got this correct. Yeah, the 17th through the 20th for Developer Week. Come find me. I'll be there.
Yeah, so then I have a few shameless plugs as well. Tomorrow, which is May 30th, I'll be at AWS Summit Chicago. I'll also be running a Here developer meetup in Chicago that evening after the summit. It will be on AWS Lex, which we saw in episode 2 of AWS Connections. So if you're in the area, definitely stop by. And then again, next week, I'll be in Seattle doing a similar thing, and that's on June 5th and 6th. So if you're in either of those areas, come find us. Same with New York.
Cool.
Final thing to say is if you're not already following our channel, please go ahead and do so. You'll get notifications, and it'll help us kind of build our street cred, right? Right, Michael?
Absolutely.
Awesome. Then we appreciate everyone who joined live. And if you want to see anything again, just view it on YouTube when it comes out. Take it easy, everyone.
Good. Thank you.